And welcome back to Little Cuts, the weekly minisode where we dig into the things that we've been watching and or playing recently. I'm Terry.
I'm Mary Beth, and we're talking about, this week, underground dystopias, bachelorette parties gone wrong, Anna Faris trying to keep it together, mood, Anna Camp and horror, it's the Anna episode, cosmic horror and stick figures, and coming-of-age alien stories.
I can't wait. But I have to say, before we get into this, Mary Beth, I have a bone to pick with you.
Okay.
How
I don't know
is
what's
it
coming. I don't know what's about to come.
I have known you since 2019, and I am just now finding out that you swam with sharks.
Oh, I've never told you that?
No.
I've never told you that?
I don't believe
It's so weird. It's like from such a different part of my life. You know what I mean? Because so this is in reference to a story I told on a podcast that was just, a clip was just tweeted out as of us recording, and I retweeted it with a picture, visual evidence of the story. So when I left my job at Discovery Channel, I had made a friend who, her husband was the head of a shark research lab in the Bahamas. And I was like, I just quit my job. I had another job lined up. I had 2 weeks, and I was like, fuck it. I'm going to go to the Bahamas for a week and go swimming with sharks. And when I say the Bahamas, it's not like a resort island. It's literally like a fucking deserted island. There's no groceries. I had to bring all my own food because there was no place to buy food on the island. Oh yeah. My suitcase was like snacks and like microwavable stuff that I could eat. And there was a small restaurant, but it was really far away and it was super expensive because everyone was you had to import everything.
Right.
Anyway, so I went down there, stayed for a week, and I went swimming with sharks one day, and it's like a big place for hammerheads and nurse sharks. So they took me out, and we went swimming with sharks, and they were all at the bottom, and I didn't want to go to the bottom because I wasn't super confident in my ability to hold my breath because it was deep. And we weren't scuba, we were just doing snorkeling. And so I was just having fun at the top, just look at all the sharks. And they're yeah, they never leave the bottom. And well, guess the fuck what? This hammerhead was but I would like to say hello to this woman. Came up off the bottom. And if you look on Twitter, it's right by my butt. And I have to find the other picture because the picture that I posted is from my perspective of it coming up. It was a video that I took of it coming up to me. And another person with me got a picture of my head above the water, and it's literally on my butt. And it was just a hammerhead shark. And it was really, really cool. And that trip was really amazing. I got to hold baby sand sharks. I got to go, I went swimming with someone I met there, and we found a bunch of eagle rays swimming around. Yeah, it was the coolest trip ever.
I'm really
jealous. It was a long time ago, but not a long, but
really
it was
jealous. Because I had the opportunity to go into a cage with sharks, and then it all fell apart. And I am very jealous.
Where were you going to go cage diving with sharks?
So we went to Hawaii to visit one of my friends that was in the Navy. And she was it was her last year in the Navy. And she had a place. So all we had to do really is pay for a ticket to get there. We could stay at her place. And so we did. And the only thing I said is, I want to go in a cage with sharks. And it was so windy that we couldn't do it until the very last day that we were there. We get there, we get out in a boat. It's the 4 of us, 2 people we don't know that came along because everyone gets out on this boat. We drive? No. We boat out to the...
You drive a boat. I guess it kind of makes sense.
We boat out to where it's in the ocean and the cage is just floating there. We had to pair up to go in, and two of my friends were dating, so they were going to go in together, and me and Jamie, the person we were visiting, were going to go in, and then there's the other 2 couple. Well, Jamie started freaking out a little bit, and she's like, can we go last? And I was like, sure, that's fine, we can go last. And so my 2 friends go under the water. I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was just lemon sharks, maybe a couple nurse sharks. Nothing too, we're not talking great whites or even hammerheads by that stretch. But they're in the water with them, and then they get out, had a great time, took lots of pictures. Then the other couple go in, and she panics, and she kicks the plexiglass that is... They had a big gap like this, I think probably this big, just, it's big enough that something could swim in. And so they had a plexiglass up. Well, she kicked the plexiglass out. He said, can't go in. So I lost my chance to go in.
You were even right there.
Yeah.
I would have set someone on fire. Like,
I wanted to. The daggers that were coming out of my eyes at that woman because she panicked and kicked the fucking plexiglass. And it was the last day. So,
all right, motherfuckers, we're getting you in the water with sharks. We're going to figure it out, though. Probably a cage, and not like me, where my friend, like, they were all shark researchers. Like, they were very smart. Mm-hmm. But they were like, you'll be fine. They don't come up. Surprise, they came up.
This was almost like 20 years ago for me now, and I still hold on to that.
Oh, I would too.
If I ever found out who that was, she would be getting nasty notes from me on a constant.
Whoever you were, if you somehow listen to this, fuck you.
Fuck you. If you were in Hawaii sometime in, like, I don't even remember when, 2007-ish maybe, fuck you.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough about sharks and stuff. I saw that literally right before we were going to record, and I was like, are you kidding me right now?
I forget. It's like terrible. I don't forget. But like they asked, like this podcast asked about my whole career, and I was like, if you want the full fucking like weird path I've gone down, I'm happy to tell you. And the shark story was included, and I was like, oh my god, wait, I did swim with,
That's so cool.
Anyway,
all right. Let's start. A bachelor party's gone wrong. I think I know what this one is. I'm curious.
All right. So this is Bury the Bride, the new film from Spider One, co-written by him and his partner Chrissy Fox. Look, I wasn't sure what to expect. Like I wasn't like the biggest fan of their last film. But like, it's cool that he's making movies and there's like a punk rockness to them that like I'm really into. So I was like, all right, well, let's see what this is all about. It played at Panic Fest, and I was like, all right, whatever. Like, let's just try it. I was so surprised with how much I liked it. It is like, so it follows a group of women, all friends, who are going to a bachelorette party for their friend June, who is getting married to a man that they don't all very much like, because he is very, like, he is like a country boy. Like, he is not of the city. He is not like, what they think she deserves. He is just like from a poor community. And her bachelor party is at like a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. And, things will go great. It'll be fine, totally. And so there's all of these there's infighting with the women, and there's some really interesting like dynamics going on with all of these women. And then June's fiance and his friends show up. And they're like, big beards, thick accents, wearing camo, but they're not portrayed as like stupid hillbillies. They're just like, so a lot of what's happening in this movie is like presenting you with horror, with characters you like know as horror tropes and stereotypes, but it kind of breaks that mold. And it's like, yeah, these guys are what you might think are hillbillies, but they're actually rather smart and well-spoken and like emotionally intelligent, and they're not just like dumb hicks like they all think they are. And by all, I mean like all of the women except for June. Chaz Bono is in this with a cameo as one of his friends named Puppy.
Oh.
Weird. Yeah.
Random.
And so as the night goes on, everyone's a little bit on edge and kind of just like, what is going on? Why are these guys here? We hate him. And then there's a twist. And I don't want to spoil the twist because it's a really good twist. But it like just becomes like bloody nightmare. And I was thoroughly surprised and impressed. It's very like handheld shaky cam stuff, not found footage, but there's like a lot of those moments. There's a lot of really interesting like discussions about sisterhood, not just with, your blood sister, but with your friends who are women. And I just I really enjoyed it. It's on Tubi. It's streaming on Tubi. It's pretty short.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it just came out on Tubi last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it kind of like, but yes, hooray for Tubi, Kate, for real. Because they're doing a lot more like acquisition of like original horror content now, which is really interesting. They're kind of trying to play in that space. And so this is one of those movies. And I guess another reason why I was like, some of the Tubi originals like have been a little bit like, but this one, again, I was really surprised. Chrissy Fox acts in it. Scout Taylor Compton is June, the bride. Chrissy Fox is her sister. And yeah, I was just like pretty impressed and pretty surprised. It's a good like 3.5 star movie. It's like short,
Okay.
bloody. I really liked it. So I
I'm gonna
wanted
have
to
to
talk
check that
about
out
it.
since it's
Yeah.
on Tubi, because like I didn't request that one because I wasn't sure, and now I kind of wish I did.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised. It feels like because they're like, they're together. I think they're married, or at least like they have a kid together. And it feels like after Allegoria that they're really hitting their kind of groove. It feels like
Okay.
he learned a lot from directing. She's directed and written stuff before, but I feel there's like a confidence, I feel like, in this movie that I haven't felt before. So,
Hell yeah.
yeah.
That's cool.
Uh, yeah. So let's talk about underground dystopias.
Sure. Yeah. So there's I say sure as if like I wasn't prepared to
I
talk
know. I
about
was
this.
like, I
Sure,
mean,
let's
you
talk
brought it.
about
I was like,
that.
I mean, we don't have to. I don't know what this is, but like,
Okay, so there was a book series, and I wish I had actually pulled it up before I. Okay, Hugh Howey wrote a book called Wool and turned it into a series called Silo, and
oh, okay.
there is now an Apple TV show that is premiering next Friday, and the embargo is finally up so I can talk about it. I'm not going to talk in deep because I am covering it with Joe Lipset between our blogs like we do. So if you're going to be watching it, follow along with us as we dig into it, because I have not read the book. So I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And I honestly, the first episode, I was like, I still don't know if this is really going to click with me, because there's a lot of, and I'll talk about what it's about, but there's a lot of like dystopian tropes that we're seeing in this first episode where it's like, yeah, something really isn't wrong is really wrong in Denmark, and obviously something's wrong with it. This isn't like a trying to hide it type of thing. This is like,
Yeah.
why would people do this? And so there's like a lot of it hits a lot of these notes in that first episode where it feels like an accelerated any kind of dystopian, young adult or otherwise, that you've probably read in the intervening like decade
Okay.
from like Hunger Games and whatnot. It hits a lot of these same tropes. But it's basically, there's this giant silo that was built underground. No one knows why. No one knows. They've just been in there for hundreds of years, probably. There was a rebellion at one point where the rebels tried to exit the silo out to the world that is apparently poisoned. And the founders, like, you start to hear this language and it's like, this is all kind of dystopian. The founders
Okay.
ended up quashing the rebellion, and
Uh
they
huh.
made it so that like they destroyed anything pre-rebellion, everything that you can't have anything pre the rebellion because it's considered illegal, and they call it relics of an ancient time that doesn't exist anymore. They say that the place is poisoned. They have like a camera up there that shows everyone the kind of desolate nature up there, and whenever someone says that they want to go out there, they're allowed to, and they're basically sentenced to death. And go out there and they're told to clean the lens if they want to, because the lens gets dirty out there. And so then they send them out with a wool cloth, and so it's like, it's very much an obvious like pulling the wool over your eyes and using the wool cloth to clean this image. Like, it's very ham-handed, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to be good.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Or this is
like,
going to
is
be
this just like The Giver with a different?
so it's like hitting all of those beats, but it's very accelerated. And by the end of the first episode, shit goes down. By the end of the second episode, shit goes down even more. And by the end of the
Okay.
third episode, I was like, I am sold, because the third episode is an hour long, and it's like half of it is story building and world building, and then the other half is the characters dealing with a generator that is malfunctioning. And it is a thrilling 30-minute sequence of people trying to like get this generator going, get it, because they only have a certain amount of time they can do it. It's like building up pressure, and there's like this perfect, fantastic use of editing with this, and the cast is stellar. So
I
it
was
has
gonna
Rashida
say,
Jones.
I looked it up and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Rashida Jones is in it. Tim Robbins is in it. Rebecca Ferguson from Doctor Sleep and a bunch of stuff is in it. She's fantastic. She is an engineer. She's the main character. Will Patton is in it. There's just like a
David
fantastic
Oyelowo
array
is in it too.
Yeah, he plays Rashida Jones's husband. He's like a sheriff that is trying to keep law, and his wife in the first episode is like, "There's something wrong here. I'm getting to the bottom of it." And it sort of follows them, and then it transitions to following Juliet, played by Rebecca Ferguson. And it is so far. I'm only 3 episodes in. They're debuting 2 episodes next week, and then it's going to be a weekly thing on Apple TV. I went from being very dubious about it to being hooked. So I would say if you have Apple TV, give it a try.
Wait, that's so I'm just like looking at stuff about the book, and apparently Hugh Howey partially published this independently on Amazon.com. Like, this wasn't like a big... That's so good. Oh, that's kind of cool. That it was just like, all right, cool, I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then he created a successful series on it, and now he has an Apple TV show. So that's... it's a really cool story right there, but...
Yeah. So I have seen posters. I haven't watched the trailer. I've decided that I don't like trailers anymore, and that I will only watch them if forced to do so for work, or if like I'm at a movie theater.
At a movie theater. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I've seen things, and it looks. I've seen things, but it looks really interesting. So I'm glad to know all of that, and that typical like kind of, okay, dystopia, hiding the truth, we get it, and it blows up. Yeah. Okay, very good to know.
Yeah,
I was going to say, it sounds like this series, Gurren Lagann. Have you ever watched Gurren Lagann? Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It's an anime series where basically there's like a bad thing happened, and everyone lives underground in like these holes, and if they want to go out, it's like forbidden to go out. And it's like, what happens when you leave the place? We all love those stories.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's gonna be good. Because
cool.
By the 3rd episode, I was hooked. I think it's smart for them to air the first 2 episodes together, because they definitely are connected together. And I think by the end of the 2nd episode, things are a lot better than the initial. Very YA, like it's not YA, but it feels YA. You know what I mean? Like it's about adults. Like these aren't.
Yeah, but it's like it's got those like that YA lens on it, where you're like,
the Divergent, the Hunger Games, that kind of feel. But
they must know that it follows that, and they're like, we have to do the 2 together so people don't think we're giving them like the same shit that they've seen a million times before.
Yeah,
smart, but again, like you said, smart, like good for them. Okay, well, that's very good to know.
Yeah. Okay, I am dying to hear about this one, Anna Camp in Horror.
Oh, okay. So this is the new Shudder film that I believe, as of the recording of this podcast, as of the release of this podcast episode, is out now on Shudder.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, I think so.
Far behind.
I know. Well, there's fucking 6,000 movies coming out this week. Yeah, it's out on Friday. Okay, cool. So this is From Black. This is a new Shudder film starring Anna Camp, who we know and love from Pitch Perfect, but also from True Blood. And
excuse me?
I know. And it's like, I felt so bad because I was like, I know that this is you trying to be like trying a more serious role. And the best thing about it, she dyed her hair black. So she does not look like herself at all. So it's it's to her advantage, because it takes you out of the whole like that kind of prim and perfect image that she has in a lot of the movies that she's in, like as a blonde, like a preppy blonde girl with like a perky voice and kind of looks like Barbie. She is so different in this. So she plays an addict a heroin addict whose son goes missing while she is high with her boyfriend.
Yikes.
And after her son disappears, she gets clean and spends years looking for him. And so she's like been trying to look for him. She's clean. She's going to meetings, and she's just like trying everything she can to like start over her life. But it's just like grief has consumed her. And so someone in her grief group goes, would you do anything to get him back? And she goes, yeah. And so what ensues is this ritual where she is trying to satiate something to give her kid back from whatever happened to her kid. And if any of you listeners have seen A Dark Song, it's got a similar, it's not the same, but it's very similar vibes in terms of she goes to a house with a guy who says, I can do this ritual for you to get your kid back. But here, it's a little bit more playing with grief about being a not perfect mother. And there's a lot more kind of, there's a lot more going on with like also creature stuff too. But essentially, it becomes this like terrifying, claustrophobic ritual where things go wrong, and it's shot like it begins in media res basically, and it kind of, you're watching it parallel of like what's happening and then flashing forward to the present where she has been found by the cops and she's covered in blood and she's like, it's following me. It's following me. You can't leave me alone. It's going to get me. Yeah. So I think it's like a little long, but I was really impressed with Anna Camp in this. I think she's incredible as this like tough but fragile character who like is doing her damnedest and putting on a mask, but is like on the edge of just like falling apart. And interestingly, so Thomas Marchese, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, who directed it. This is his like first feature. And he based a lot of this, I interviewed them, which is why I'm pulling this out, but it was fascinating. He was a fucking homicide, like child crimes homicide detective for 15 years and based this movie around shit that he saw for 15 years as a homicide detective. And he retired because he got stabbed. And then he made this movie.
Oh, he sounds like a fascinating person.
Yeah. Yeah. Really fascinating story when he was like, yeah, I was a child sex crimes police officer. And I was like, I'm sorry, are you okay? Like, can I hug you? Like, that's terrible. Like, ACAB. But, but like, that man lived like lived people's horror stories kind of shit. Like, and he wrote this movie that is not entirely based on that, but like he drew from a lot of his experiences. I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Kate says, it sounds like A Dark Song Meets the Monster. Is that?
I have to think about the monster for a second. I think so, yeah.
I've actually never seen that one.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just like, it's not Brian Bertino's best work, but it's also like really sad. Like, it's really, really sad. So it's like, it's a hard one to watch.
Addiction in the monster.
Yeah, and like the mom trying to be a better mom, but just like being frustrated. Yeah. But I mean, Anna Camp, she killed it. She's really, really good. I was really impressed. I hope she does more horror projects because she has the fucking range, let me tell you.
So you're giving me all these movies I need to watch this weekend.
I'm sorry!
Since they're both out and I totally missed them.
Yeah. And they're both relatively, like, short. So, on the subject of Anna's being awesome, Anna Faris trying to keep it together?
Yeah, so while I was having a bad mental health day this weekend, I was in bed, and I was like, I don't want to go to bed, I want to watch something. What should I watch? And I don't know why, but I've been thinking about watching this movie for the longest time, and I finally was like, you know what, this is the perfect time. And so I sat down, laid down, and I watched Smiley Face.
I need to see that. No, but I know about it, and I've heard such good things about it.
Yeah, so Anna Faris, it's directed by Greg Araki.
Yes. Greg Araki.
And
Jesus.
it is a stoner comedy. And I started realizing as I was watching this, I don't think there's any other stoner comedies that are like, maybe there are, but like I can't think of any at the top of my head that are woman fronted. Like side characters, sure.
Yeah.
But like as a protagonist, as like the main character.
I don't think I really can think of any, to be perfectly honest with you. It is mostly dudes. Huh.
Yeah, and so Anna Faris plays a young actress who likes to get high, and she has a very creepy roommate played appropriately by now creepy dude Danny Masterson. He is like a creepy roommate for her, and he makes these cupcakes. He puts them in the refrigerator and says, "Do not touch. This is for a Trek convention, a Star Trek convention," which he is like fronting. I don't know. It's weird. But then, so she has the munchies. She wants to eat, so she eats them, and then realizes that they are marijuana cupcakes, and she has eaten all of them. And so she is trying to go through her very busy day of paying the electric bill, going to an audition, and then also finding weed to make him more cupcakes because she needs to replace them. And it is basically Anna Faris just being high as fuck and having the most hilarious monologues. There is this one monologue that just like had me just giggling nonstop because she is literally just like sunk down in her chair and she's talking about how like where corn chips come from and how like the person that made them probably really loves corn. And she's like, is that what you're supposed to put in a frame? Are things that you love? And she's like, I really love lasagna. I should put lasagna in a frame. And she's like, no, you know who else really loves lasagna? Garfield the cat. Maybe as a shorthand of way saying I love lasagna, I could put him in a frame. She's like, oh, no. What about a photo of President Garfield? Because that would be so meta. And then people would ask, Jane, why do you have a photo of President Garfield on your mantle? And I'd be like, because I love lasagna, of course.
That is the most beautiful example of like stoner bullshit I've ever heard. Of just like talking yourself into the most ridiculous shit.
Uh-huh.
I've wanted to watch this movie for a long time, but now you're really making me like just Anna Faris one is like the funny, like she is fucking
the best.
Hysterical. Like she is so funny. And I love how she seems like she's blonde and kind of talks like this, but she's the fucking funniest person, like in everything. She is so funny. She has
no ego in anything she does because the things that she does, she is able to like to go to places that I think most actresses are like, I don't want to look stupid, but she's able to like fully fucking embrace that and just be like, no, I'm gonna be silly. And that's what I love about her. She is so infectious, and I'm really surprised that, I guess I had seen this movie once before, but I don't remember it. Maybe I saw, like, a snippet of it. So, like, this was really my first time really watching it. And I'm upset that it took me this long. It's only streaming on, like, free places, like Tubi and Freevee. There's nowhere to, like, buy it, like, digitally or rent or anything like that. Very weird that Greg's movies are not readily available. I'm going to call homophobia, but...
I agree with that. Yeah, because he also did Mysterious Skin.
Mysterious Skin. His Doom Generation just got like a restoration and is like going to festival or playing somewhere, I think. So like his movies, he was like really responsible for like new queer cinema. Like he was really in that range back in the early 90s. And I feel like his movies aren't readily available anywhere. And it really makes me upset.
It feels like homophobia, and like no one cares about 90s stoner cinema or like, you know, different, because I know he also did Nowhere, which looks awesome. And then he also directed, I didn't realize this, he directed episodes of Dahmer, that Dahmer Netflix series. But I want to see more from him. I think he has a really fascinating POV. But I also wonder, like, I'm always so fascinated with filmmakers who like a lot of their like renown comes from making films that feel very much of a certain era. Like his movies are so very much like, well, Mysterious Skin was 2004, and then what was Smiley Face? 2007.
2007.
Okay. But like, you know what I mean, of like the late 90s, early 2000s. Like that was just such a very specific, aesthetically specific time period. Mm-hmm. And I feel like his work really captures all around aspects of that time period. So I'm very curious, like, what he would make now.
Well, it's because, like, the last thing that I think he kind of wrote, the last thing he wrote was Now Apocalypse, which was a hilarious Stars series that lasted for a single season that I really loved. And I was really sad that it didn't get picked up for another season. But yeah, I don't know. He's directed a lot of TV. It seems like 13 Reasons Why, Riverdale, others.
Okay, well maybe that makes sense that he directs episodes of TV like that. He also he did a movie called White Bird and a Blizzard in 2014 that starred Eva Green and Shailene Woodley.
Random.
Never heard of that before, but all right.
No, I haven't either. I after watching it, I was like, I really want to go down his filmography because I'm not as familiar with it, but like a lot of it is very difficult to find, and that makes me really sad. But anyway, You want to see Anna Faris talk about lasagna and sink into her couch and be high as fuck. Smiley face. Recommended. Highly recommended. Very funny. Very funny. Okay, coming of age alien stories?
Okay, so this was a movie that friend of the show, Kayla Heyer, who is an incredible person and PR rep, recommended to me because this played at Boston Underground Film Festival. I did not cover that because I can only do so much to myself. But she told me that I should check this movie out. And I am so glad that she told me about it because it is... I don't even know. I'll figure out how to describe it. It's like, it's got Wanting Mare vibes, but like placed in reality, like our reality, in terms of being like this very kind of like beautiful, slow, weird sci-fi thing. So this is Spaghetti Junction. This is a movie called Spaghetti Junction. It was directed by Kirby McClure. This is their first film. And it follows this young girl named August who has recently lost her leg. And the actress Kate Hughes, who plays August, actually is also disabled and doesn't have, is an amputee. So that's kind of a cool... It talks about her amputation and like her not feeling like whole and just like not knowing where to fit in her life. And she lives in the deep south with her sister and her dad, and her mom died in a car accident, the same car accident where she lost her leg. And so this is a family living in the south in a pretty poor, like a relative, like blue collar family. The dad is not doing well with the loss. Her sister has a shitty boyfriend, and August is just like kind of adrift. She's like 13 or 14. And then one day she feels something pulling her to this cave. And what she finds in this cave is a boy, but it's something has taken over his body. He is something from another world. And she decides that this is her purpose in life now, is to help him find his way to saving the world, essentially. And it sounds silly. Like it could be like a very silly movie and like very kid-like, but it's actually like incredibly affecting because a lot of it are these like very quiet moments with August or her family, like sitting in silence and kind of just like, it's very much like a coming of age story about a young girl trying to figure out her own grief and her own like desire in the world, because there's a lot of voiceover where that's her inner monologue talking about how she just wants to disappear and how finding this creature gives her kind of like a purpose. And it's fascinating in like the trek. So she basically has to go on a trek to help him find like a map maker. And it's just like it devolves into like this super weird aesthetic that I think is really fascinating. And it's got like, it's like Southern Gothic aliens.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like contemporary Southern Gothic aliens.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's like, it's sad, but beautiful. It's beautifully shot. And I just compare it to The Wanting Mare just because of that. Like, the parallels in terms of, like, telling really beautiful sci-fi stories with this, like, very much, like, everyday people trying to live through things and experiencing, like, very big emotions in very bizarre situations. It's beautifully shot, beautifully acted. Yeah, it melds a lot of familiar genres to make something really interesting. Like, you'll see the coming-of-age movie tropes, but, like, with the alien stuff mixed in, it's, like, really fascinating. So, yeah, that's making the festival circuit right now. I don't believe it has distribution yet, but keep an eye out for it. Spaghetti Junction. It's a special movie.
Oh, yeah. That sounds really cool, actually.
Yeah. And let's end this on cosmic horror and stick figures. I'm assuming this is the game you were playing that you were talking about?
It is the game I was playing. Yeah, so back in, like, I think early 2000s, maybe 2003, there was this web-based game called Kingdom of Loathing that was created by Zach Johnson and a small team. And it was like a web-based, almost like an MMO with stick figures. And then he made a single player role playing game in 2017 called West of Loathing that takes the Kingdom of Loathing and puts it in like a Western theme, but also has like bizarre monsters in it. Well, then last year, and I didn't even know this came out until just recently, there was another game called Shadows over Loathing. It takes the Loathing aesthetic and the story and moves it into the 1920s in a Lovecraftian eldritch horror setting where you
Oh
are
my
playing
god.
a character who goes to the city to find his uncle who's missing, and there's like relics that are cursed that you have to go find, and it is literally you are a stick figure. Everyone in this game are stick figures. It's black and white.
Oh my god, the aesthetic is so cool.
The aesthetic is so fucking cool. And the only reason it came to my attention was that there was like a Nintendo Switch indie spotlight like a few weeks ago, maybe last week even, and they announced that it's coming to the
Oh.
Switch. It was released that day on the Switch, and so I was like, oh shit, this is already out. And so I went over and I bought it on PC, and I've been playing it off and on. I'm not done with it yet, but I really wanted to kind of put a light on this because it's hilarious. It is so silly. There is like you find different equipment that you can like that you can wear, and there's all these shoes, and each shoes does something different. You wear sandals and you make like sounds as if you're moving through the like the beach, and you leave like a trail of dirt behind you. There's one where you find like one shoe in a trash can, and if you put it on your body, you start to like gallop with like one foot and your two arms because you can't move with your other foot. Like, it is just so fucking silly, the things that happen in this game. But it
Museum
is
of
also,
Skulls?
yeah, it is also like there's this one house where like it's called like I can't remember the name of it, is like a droning house or something that you stumble across, and there's like a loud droning noise coming from inside the house, and you like go into the house because it's a role playing game and you just enter anyone's house in a role playing game, and you hear like this sound, and you go upstairs and there's someone that is literally playing, I can't remember what instrument it was, but like a single note, and he's like been playing it for a very, very long time. And he's like, if I stop playing, the evil in the basement will come alive. And you can like say, yeah, keep playing, or you can convince him to stop. And so I convince him to stop, and then you go downstairs and everything that was like pristine in the house is now damaged and destroyed, and there's floating things, and you go into the basement and you basically end up finding this gem. And you have a decision to like either destroy it or take it with you, and I was like, I'm gonna take it with me. And it's like, you really shouldn't do that, the game is telling me. It's very witty, the game is very, it's there's no voice dialogue, but all the writing is so fucking hilarious, and it's like, you really shouldn't do this. I'm like, I'm gonna take it out anyway. This isn't a good idea. And you take it out, and the house just sort of like collapses in on itself and vanishes. And all of a sudden you have this like cursed artifact with you. It's just, there's a lot of these little tiny vignettes in here, and it has like a role-playing game where it's turn-based battles, sort of like earlier Final Fantasies, where you put in your commands and you do attacks. It's very
Do you have
simplistic.
a team? Do you have like a team of people? Or a party?
You have like,
Jesus Christ, party. I was like, what the fuck is the word? Do you got a team?
So you have like a little pet. I have this turtle that's been following me around, and I just
Oh.
recently got a mosquito, and so I've replaced the turtle with a mosquito because the mosquito will go drain life from an enemy and give it to you. And then you get random people that will join you, and the person I have now is a queer woman who talks about her girlfriend and has a Tommy gun and just like sprays the Tommy gun at enemies. And it's so funny, it's so silly, it's cosmic. It has an absolute reverence for like eldritch horror, cosmic horror, and stuff, and I really am having a blast playing it. So if it's only on Switch and Mac and Windows, but if you have one of those, I highly recommend giving this one a try.
I was going to say, I have a Switch, and I also have to play Dredge, the Cosmic Horror
Dredge.
Fishing game. So I have two Cosmic...
I've been meaning to talk about that one too.
Okay, well, don't talk about it this week, because then I'll play it. I will... This is my motivation to buy it and play it for next week. Then we can talk about it. How about that?
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Sounds good. I'm holding you to that.
No, please, because I need to stop playing Stardew Valley. I need to play another goddamn game on my Switch for the life of me, please.
Girl, I've been thinking about trying that again. Like,
it is the perfect depression video game.
Oh,
like,
I know.
Yeah, it is perfect.
I
Like,
know.
feel accomplished and zone out and maybe spend too much time playing it. You're like, just one more day. And you're like, God damn
Yeah, I
it.
played it. I played it a long time ago before like any of the new patches that like
Oh, I was
basically
gonna
almost
say,
doubled the content. So there's like a
yeah,
lot that I have not seen.
yeah, because there's like a whole new island.
Never even knew that existed
Ooh,
until like
yeah.
recently when when he was talking about releasing 1.6 or something like that.
I know he's putting a pause on Haunted Chocolatier, which I'm really sad about because I really want to play
I
Haunted
know. I really want to
Chocolatier.
play that game so bad. I want that game.
But there's gonna be an update of Stardew Valley with more content, and I'm like, yes. So look, I'm getting concerned Abe content regardless. Everybody, please play Stardew Valley. It is so much
It's
fun.
perfect. It's
All
perfect.
I want to do is take care of my chickens and pick my fruits and go fight weird things in
And
the
Smooch
caves.
Sean, I think that's who I am.
Oh my god, you too? You did a
Yeah.
I can fix him move? Oh my god,
Yes, I
why are we the
did.
same person?
Did you too?
Uh-huh.
That's
I was
hilarious.
like, it was either, well, I have a couple saves where I romance women. Like I do
Uh-huh.
gay shit, but I did one where I romance Sean. He's like, you're the only guy in this game that like I moderately enjoy, even though you're like
Yeah,
an alcoholic dickhead, but like you're very sweet. And then you're like, I can fix him,
he's
and you
cute,
fix him with jalapeno poppers,
as you do.
as you
Only
do.
that can fix everything.
You know, yeah, god damn, I really wish it could.
Uh,
But aside from now me playing Dredge and talking about it with you next week, what series are we starting next week,
okay.
Terry?
So we've been like debating a couple different ones, and we had one, but we're like, we got to figure out a movie if we're gonna do that one. So we're gonna save that one for a little bit later, and we're going to. We talked about this back when we discussed Final Destination, and so it's finally coming around full circle. We're going to introduce Mary Beth to the rest of the Final Destination movies, which she has seen none of except for the very first one. We're gonna go down that path, and I cannot wait.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited because I know it's an amazing franchise. I know a lot about it. Like, well, not a ton, but like I know the kills, and so I'm just excited to get to experience all of the different kills. Like I know that not all of them are amazing, but all of them include weird ass ways to die. So like I'm very excited to
Yep.
start this Final Destination journey. I'm already terrified of the logs on trucks, so like
Girl, we're gonna start with that one because we're
I
starting with
know.
number two because we've
I
already seen one.
know.
So
And we'll talk
get
all
ready to
about
be
that shit.
traumatized.
Isn't that anyway? Because I remember we talked about it, and I feel like we talked about how like Final Destination really shaped an entire generation's worst fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we sure did.
Oh
Okay,
my
but
god.
oh my god, who are we talking to on Monday, Mary Beth?
Okay, so this is like Terry's dream interview,
This
and it
is
was so
a check mark.
awesome. Yeah, so we are chatting with video game designer Sam Barlow. He's the mind behind games like Her Story.
And
And
Telling Lies and Immortality, which came out last August, I think.
yeah, and he brought with him a wild animated French movie called The Masters of Time / Time Masters. And if you've seen me tweeting about that recently, it's because of this recording, because I was like, I don't know what the fuck this movie is, but I'm obsessed with it. So
It's
we
so
had
good.
it's really good. So Sam shares a lot of really cool stories about making games, and then we just talk about this weird ass French art house, Euro house version of Star Wars.
Yeah. We spend a lot of time in the beginning, the first half of the episode, talking about his career because Sam is a talker and I had so many questions I really wanted to dig into. He talks about working with the screenwriter of Lost Highway with Immortality, as well as the screenwriter of Don't Look Now, both of which wrote Heart of Immortality. Like, it just, there's so much here. And I'm so thankful that we got to talk with him because this was literally a squee moment for me. I was so fucking excited.
So, listeners, you've heard from us. We want to hear from you. Did you watch something that we watched or played this week and have thoughts? Do you have suggestions for movies or games for us to cover on the podcast? Send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us directly on Twitter. I am at MB McAndrews.
And I'm a Gaily Dreadful.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
And please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe. And if you want to help us out, support us through Patreon. We're going to be talking about a next movie in our new French Extremity watch in the next few weeks. So sign up. Now's the time to do it.
And since Scream is out on digital, we're also going to be doing a little spoiler episode with Scream 6. So you should become a subscriber before that drops. Yay! Thank you. Thank you to Eric Power for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you everyone for listening. Please stay safe out there. Most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.